You won't hurt me.
No, little bird, I won't hurt you.
The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 prediction video. Today I want to pick right back up where I left off in my previous video about Sandor Clegane. In my last video, I gave some predictions for Sandor Clegane, but I told you I had another idea I wanted to say for today because it also involves a few other characters. As of right now, we really don't know what the Hound will do next season. It seems obvious to me that he is still in the show for a reason, but what could that be? Most people, including me, assume he will eventually fight and kill his older brother, Gregor Clegane, next season, but what else can he do if he survives that fight? Assuming the Night King and Cersei are defeated, what's next for Sandor Clegane? Does anyone think he would just ride off into the sunset, or does he have another part to play? Obviously, this all depends on whether or not he survives all the battles that are to come. If he dies, then you can just throw all of this out the damn window, but I happen to think he will live. One thing I can almost guarantee is we will get to see Sandor Clegane arrive back in Winterfell for the very first time since the very first episode of the show. Not only will we see him in Winterfell again, but we should also see a very similar scene to when King Robert and his entourage arrived at the Stark's castle. A few weeks ago, Entertainment Weekly released an article about the 8th season of Game of Thrones, and in that article it said, "At some point HBO will release a proper final season trailer revealing more. Until then, here's some basic setup we can tell you. Season 8 opens at Winterfell with an episode that contains plenty of callbacks to the show's pilot. Instead of King Robert Baratheon's procession arriving, it's Daenerys and her army. What follows is a thrilling, intense intermingling of characters, some of whom have never previously met, and many who have messy histories, as they all prepare to face the inevitable invasion of the Army of the Dead. So as you can see, when Jon and Daenerys arrive with their party, it will look very similar to the scene when King Robert Baratheon arrived in Winterfell. Now what's interesting is, Sandor Clegane is one of the very few characters that are still alive from King Robert's procession. As far as I remember, the only other characters that are still alive are the 3 Lannisters, Cersei, Jaime, and Tyrion, but even Tyrion wasn't in King Robert's procession when he arrived, because Jaime had to go and find him because he was already shacked up in Wintertown's brothel. When Sandor Clegane gets to Winterfell with Jon and Daenerys, the show has a really good opportunity to capitalize on some interesting scenes. As we all know, Sandor Clegane has a history with some of the Stark children. As I mentioned in my last video, his reunion with Arya Stark should be great. That is something almost all of us are dying to see, but his reunion with Sansa Stark could be even more interesting for a few other reasons, which I want to get into today. For those of you that don't know, there is a very popular theory that is known throughout the Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire fandom, and this theory is known as the Sansa theory. Now, before any of you jump to conclusions, my video is not necessarily about that theory, but I do want to reference it to add some more context to a different idea I want to propose today. If you don't know, Sansa stands for Sansa and Sandor. Just to sum up the Sansa theory, it basically states these two characters end up together in the end. Now, I don't know if these two characters will end up becoming romantically involved or not, but I do think Sandor Clegane can remain by Sansa's side. In my last video, I told you I had one other prediction for Sandor Clegane, but it did also involve a couple other characters, which are Sansa, Arya, and Brienne of Tarth. Obviously, all of these characters would have to survive until the very end. Now, I know that might seem unlikely, but you have to remember, in the television show, Sandor Clegane, Arya Stark, and Brienne of Tarth are some of the best fighters. So I don't think it's too crazy to think that they could live until the end. Now, I know this might seem like a crazy idea, but what if Sandor Clegane, Arya Stark, and Brienne of Tarth become Sansa Stark's Queensguard? Before you disregard this, just hear me out for a few seconds. Now, when it comes to Sansa, there is still a very good chance she could become the Queen. Maybe not the Queen of Westeros, but she could become the Queen in the North at the very least. When you think about it, she is basically the Queen in the North already, even if she doesn't actually have that title. As we all know, Cersei Lannister currently sits on the Iron Throne, but Daenerys wants to take her place. However, we all know Jon Snow is the true heir to the Iron Throne, so things get a little complicated when it comes to who should be controlling Westeros. The crazy thing is, there might not even be an Iron Throne by the end of the show. The kingdoms may be split up into their own sections so they can have their own independence. If that happens, Sansa might remain as the Lady in Winterfell, or the Queen in the North, however you want to look at it. Even if Jon Snow is alive by the end of the show, once he finds out he is a Targaryen, I highly doubt that he would want to take over in the North when he knows one of the Starks should remain in power at Winterfell. Since Arya and Brienne already have their own parts to play, then that would mean Sansa would remain in her position, in my opinion. Now, if we go back to the first season of the show, they were setting up Sansa to become the queen very early on in the story. Sansa even said that she would become the queen over and over again.
You left your home to come here, and I'd be queen someday. It's beautiful, like the one your mother wears.
You'll be queen someday. It's only fitting you should look the part.
10 years. Who knows what treason she may hatch?
No, I'm not. I'll be a good wife to him. You'll see. I'll be a queen just like you, I promise. I won't hatch anything.
Now, I know Sansa was thinking about this because she was supposed to marry Joffrey and become his queen, but as we all know, that never happened. Joffrey ended up getting married to Marjorie, then Joffrey died at that wedding. However, that doesn't mean Sansa still can't become the queen. Maybe all of those references were foreshadowing what would happen to Sansa at the end of the story. Just look at the position Sansa is in. She has finally found herself in a very high position of power, and as we all know, she has learned from some of the very best players in the game, Littlefinger and Cersei. Sansa's life experiences have shaped her into the woman that she is today, and hopefully that makes her a good queen, assuming she doesn't die. Now, when it comes to Sandor, Arya, and Brienne becoming Sansa's Queensguard, let's just take a look at some of the other things that have been said in the show. Brienne of Tarth basically already has that job as we speak. She already swore an oath to protect Sansa, so if Sansa becomes queen, it would almost be natural for Brienne to become a member of her Queensguard.
Lady Sansa, I offer my services once again. I will shield your back and keep your counsel and give my life for yours if need be. I swear it by the old gods and the new.
Also, don't forget, Brienne was a member of Renly Baratheon's Kingsguard already, so this will not be the first time we have seen a woman take that position.
Your Grace, I ask the honor of a place in your Kingsguard. I will be one of your 7, pledge my life to yours, and keep you safe from all harm.
Done. This would actually be the second time Brienne has done this. Now, when it comes to Sandor Clegane, this one might be a little harder for some people to get on board with, especially if you think the Sansa theory is completely out of the question. Like I said, I don't really know if they will become romantically involved or not, but we do know that the Hound has no problem with protecting Sansa. He even told her Sansa would become the queen, and he would be her guard.
Killing's the sweetest thing there is.
Why are you always so hateful?
You'll be glad of the hateful things I do someday when you're queen. And I'm all that stands between you and your beloved king.
Now, I know that was another reference to Sansa and Joffrey getting married, but that doesn't mean it can't happen in the future. Sansa is now in power in the north, and the Hound is on his way there, so who knows how things end up in the end. Now, when it comes to Arya Stark, let's take a look at a few very important scenes with Arya and her father, Ned Stark. Listen to what Arya says in this scene about her brother Bran Stark.
Now that Bran's awake, will he come live with us?
Well, he needs to get his strength back first.
He wanted to be Knight of the King's Guard. He can't be one now, can he?
No.
As you can see, Arya says that her brother Bran wanted to become a member of the Kingsguard, but since Bran was injured, that can no longer happen. But as we all know, Arya has always wanted to do the things that her brothers were able to do. She never wanted to become a lady, she would rather kick some ass. Since Bran never got to become a member of the Kingsguard, maybe Arya can take his place. And what would be more fitting than Arya protecting Sansa? This is something else that Ned made sure to remind Arya of in the first season.
You're a Stark of Winterfell. You know our words.
Winter is coming.
You were born in the long summer. You've never known anything else. But now winter is truly coming. And in the winter, we must protect ourselves. Look after one another. Sansa is your sister.
I don't hate her.
Now that winter is truly coming, the Starks have to stick together and protect one another. She should not be fighting against her sister, she should be fighting with her sister as a team. Arya never forgot that, because almost the exact same sentiment was repeated when Arya and Sansa took down Littlefinger together.
In winter, we must protect ourselves. Look after one another.
Father. And the snows fall and the white winds blow. The lone wolf dies, but the pack survives.
Sansa follows that up by saying the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Sansa and Arya's relationship may become even closer from here on out, and if Sansa does become the official queen, she will need protection. Can you imagine if Sansa's Queensguard consisted of Sandor, Arya, and Brienne of Tarth? That would be impressive, especially when you consider what happened during this scene. Brienne and the Hound nearly killed each other, then Arya left him for dead, but in a crazy turn of events, all of them are now on the same damn team. Let me know what you think about this idea. I'm not saying it's a guarantee or anything like that, but it was just an idea that I had that I wanted to discuss. It gives us something a little different to think about until the final season finally airs. Leave your thoughts or questions down below in the comment section. I want to thank all of you for stopping by and watching another video, and I also want to thank everyone on Patreon for continuing to support my channel. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.